Hey guys, how's it going? So a warlock cursed me to review every Weezer album for all time. So today, I'm going to do a review of Weezer's new The Black Album. I didn't do a review of the Teal album officially. That cover album they did. So I'm just gonna tuck a review of the Teal album into the beginning here. So, and really what I'm doing is I'm just reading some tweets I wrote about it. So the Teal album is fine. It's not really fine. It's worse than that. I just don't see a point in it. The only theme seems to be songs that were really popular from the 80s and 90s. And they're all a bit weaker than the originals because Rivers' vocals have sounded wussy on everything post-Pinkerton. Also, some of the instrumentation is worse. The reason they're pointless, kind of lame covers is because Weezer has no band identity anymore. If you compare the covers on the Teal album to the one they did of Valoria for a Pixies tribute album back in the day, it's really good. In fact, it's one of the few covers that might be better than the original. And the reason is, it's a cover of a band they were actually inspired by. And furthermore, Weezer had a style back then that was like the Weezer style. And now, these covers are all subtly worse covers because they're just covers of like top 40 stuff from the 80s and 90s because there's no band identity. It's literally just Rivers Cuomo being like, this will be fun for a laugh and for some publicity. Plus, for a rock band, they use so much electronic, stuff now that you can't tell like some of it's pointless. Some of it's just like, well, it almost just sounds like listening to a fucking karaoke album. What's the goddamn point? Anyway, sorry, that was the Teal album, which I give a, who the fuck cares out of fuck you. Now let's move on to the Black Album. The Black Album, which I would call the sequel to Ratitude, or Ratitude, if you will. So it's like a very shitty kind of bad dance rock album, which is really like Rivers' favorite thing now. If you look into what he does with his time without Weezer, he does a lot of guest tracks with other people, and they're always like super weak dance tracks, like really forgettable weak dance tracks. Like it could even be somebody who's a pretty good artist most of the time, but when they team up with Rivers, they just make a shitty dance song because apparently that's his favorite fucking thing. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. I guess it was the White Album. The White Album was the one that some of the old school fans thought was like a return to form or some shit. Which it wasn't. You're fucking a bunch of dumb goobers who got huckstered by Rivers' memester Cuomo. Afoo. I would say with the Black Album, this is Weezer definitively telling the old school fans to not look for old Weezer in their music. I guess those three albums were supposed to be the fake return to form. Everything will be alright in the end. The White Album and Pacific Daydream, which I literally forgot the existence of until I looked it up yesterday, and I can't remember any songs on it. The only part I have in my head is the song Feels Like Summer. I just have in my head him in falsetto going, feels like summer. But other than that, I can't remember a goddamn thing. But those were the three fake return to form albums. And Back to the Shack, he said he forgot that disco sucks. And this is them saying, no, we didn't. I love this dancey shit. I love this dancey bullshit. And that's what we're gonna do. So there's a lot of like electronica stuff on this album, and there's just a lot of like poor rock. It's all weird, like genre jumping bullshit. I don't know if it's worse than Pacific Daydream. I forget both of them. I mean, like I said, to me, this seems very much like the second Ratitude. It's got really cheesy, like, sort of bro-y sounding music sometimes. It's all dance-based. Ratitude has a couple of okay tracks. if you don't try to listen for old school Weezer, if you're just accepting that Weezer's like a weird, shitty dance rock band, it's got Can't Stop Partying, which is a good song. I hope that relaxed you. I'd say the Black Album seems like the natural progression of a band run by a shitty frontman who loves, like, not very good dance rock. It's interesting that they used that Weird Al was in their Africa video, because there almost is this feeling in this album. It feels like a parody album of original songs in a weird way, because it's got all this genre jumping, and it's got really dumb lyrics. Like the second song, Zombie Bastards, he literally just says blah 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 at one point. He says keep on blah blah blah, like he didn't want to finish writing the song. It feels like Weezer's like jumping through genres and going like, here's our parody of that, you know. Also, there's a lot of profanity on the album. Apparently, that's a new thing. Rivers curses now. Rivers is a dirty boy. Says the F word a lot. Hey, thanks. I don't know. Something that's really funny too is like, in this modern future of like AI and stuff like that, where people are like, oh wow, like AI is going to be able to write scripts and like write music and stuff in the future, you know, like it's going to replace all the human creativity. Rivers Cuomo is already like writing stuff kind of like an algorithm. He revealed, I think it was a podcast called Song Exploder. If you look up Weezer and Song Exploder, Rivers revealed that he literally writes by spreadsheet. He's gotten into programming now, and he likes spreadsheets. They make him aroused or something. I think he literally said that in an interview, something like that. The Vulture review of the Black Album also goes into this stuff. He just like goes through lyrics, just like things he's heard that he wrote down, and thought were lyrics, and he goes back to those and he just pieces songs together. And he also just listens to songs and goes like, oh, that's a good hook from a song, I'll just steal it. Like in reality, that's how people write songs, you know. They listen to a lot of music and then just like, you know, by osmosis, they kind of take all their influences, and, you know, it's an homage, but you repackage it, you make it your own thing. He's not doing anything technically wrong. He's just pulling the curtain back on it and doing it really blatantly. Like, he just straight up goes to a song and goes like, I can take that chord progression, because as long as you don't take too much, it's not a full ripoff. But it's part of the reason when you listen to his songs these days, you're like, oh, that's like that song. Oh, and he's terrible at bridges now. I've noticed this in the last couple albums. He's just awful at fucking writing bridges. They're always so poorly employed, and they don't fit the rest of the mood of the song. And there's a terrible bridge on the second one, on Zombie Bastards, which it just becomes No Woman, No Cry at one point. The seventh track, Too Many Thoughts in My Head, which has a good chorus and is probably honestly the only like decent thing on the album, is that chorus. But the rest of the song is just straight up just sounds like Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. It just really does. Here, let's listen to that for a second. If that was really quiet, it's because this is an ASMR video, okay? What can I do? What can I do? I have to fit the form. I have to stick to the ASMR. Like, I really think Weezer is some of the most cynical stuff happening in pop music and rock, or whatever the fuck you want to call them anymore. It's really cynical shit, because it's really like Rivers Cuomo just going like, well, what will make us go viral? What will give us the most publicity? Like, he didn't even see that shitty sketch about Weezer on SNL, but it's on the album. There's a sticker on the album that says like Weezer Ride or Die or some bullshit. Just because Rivers, like, he's all about publicity. He's such a weird fuck. I don't know if he's following his bliss. Is this what he wanted? Is all he wanted to be famous and he doesn't care how? You know, if he's following his bliss, though, he certainly dragged the band members and the fans along with him unwillingly. Pat Wilson, the drummer, has always been quite vocal about how, you know, or he said a lot of comments that are very clearly like, I don't really love what we're doing. thing. They were just on Jimmy Fallon, and just look at the death in Pat's eyes. One of the singles, High as a Kite, Pat just looks bored throughout it, but it's like played as a joke, but it's almost just makes you think like maybe Pat was like, I don't want to fucking do it, and they were like, alright, just look bored, it doesn't matter, like it'll be a joke. And he was like, yeah, right, a joke. Speaking of that song, you know, Rivers does know how to make a pop hook, or to steal one at least. So there will be times, and this has happened with previous albums too, there will be times where something will get stuck in your head for a while, but there's a hollowness to it. Like the chorus to High as a Kite is like, it'll get stuck in your head, but like it probably won't stay there long. It's not like a worthwhile catchy track, it just gets in there. And also it makes me think of I'm Like a Bird by Nelly Furtado, because it's about birds and it's very soaring, and I don't know, maybe it's more a cosmetic thing, but that's what I thought of. So yeah, that's basically it. It's just a useless album. It's really bad, but you know, that's par for the course with Weezer these days. As usual, Weezer is the Simpsons of rock and roll. If you come into it as an old school fan wanting to, you know, hear something from the past, they have completely at this point said, we're not doing that. If you instead just come into it as like, this is some new weird rock dance bullshit outfit, then it's still just dumb bad music. But you'll be doubly angry if you think that, you know, you're gonna get Weezer. You're not getting the Weezer you want. That's it. You know, if you're an old school fan, oops. If you're a new school fan, you like bad music. I don't know. You know, as an old school fan, I've liked the occasional new track, but you have to accept that it's not old Weezer. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. And even if you're not an old school fan, in my opinion, you'll have a bad time. If you're a young person, maybe you can enjoy this stuff right now, but when you get older, I think you'll forget about it. You know, like I listened to The Offspring a lot when I was a kid. I don't listen to The Offspring anymore, really. All I Want's a good song. Let's listen to some of that now. This is Adventure Time Season 11, Issue number 1. Anyway, as I've said many times before, stop listening to Weezer. There are better bands out there. Yeah. I give this album a, you know, who cares, even a little bit, out of stupid piece of shit, fake parody album that sucks. Fuck everything, we're all gonna die, climate change is coming, okay? Hope this relaxed you. Have a good one, motherfuckers. God bless.